Thank you, Nicholas, for the warm welcome and the riddle. And I also have something for you to think about. It's about seamless logins. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, so I also have an agenda, but it's more graphed out as a hype graph. So at first, there are some dry basics. No much hype, right? And then you will learn a bit more about the topic I want to talk about with you. And eventually you learn, okay, I really want to have this in my online shop or my digital experience. After that, we will notice, okay, you don't have it yet because you think about, I want to have that. And to understand the thought process behind it, we will go to a few questions and you will go through a joyride of asking yourself the questions over and over again and understand how you can integrate, well, a seamless login experience for everyone. And, well, then there's the end of the talk and we're all sad. But there's something I provide for you so you can take something with you digitally. Yeah, something more about me. This is my open source fun me posting some memes when I do code contributions. And, well, I do contribute on a lot of things, mostly Shopware 5 and nowadays, obviously, Shopware 6. And I'm also available on events like this. So you might see me as well on, well, different chat platforms we had during the timeline of Shopware and nowadays also on the Shopware Community Hub. But there's also the business me that is here on stage right now. And in case you don't know me from GitHub or some Shopware events, you might know me from me running around in your office or warehouse to understand what are your processes, running workshops with you, and look around deeper into your processes that you want to enhance eventually. And I'm also talking about products and services we as a company provide. And I show both of them to you because there's a combination. And in that case, there's something we provide open source and, well, as a product and service. And I want to talk a little bit about that. So, what is this exactly now? This is the tech stage, and on the tech stage, we all would expect to see something techy, right? But I must say this is at least nothing about code. So for the code part, we have to talk about that later because we don't really have time for the deep details. And I don't want to sell you a single solution. I want to sell you a thought process that you have to apply on your own. And as well, I don't want to talk about passwords because handling passwords is always a bit annoying and humans are bad at passwords. We don't want to talk about that. But they are the original problem of the, well, topic we're talking about now. So we will talk about single sign-on and some more abbreviations, and you don't have to recall them, you don't have to type them down. You will get something at the end. For now, you want to collect some brain food for your next sprint or project or something you want to build. Yeah, so with that, let's have something we might have seen in the past. Netflix once said, sharing is caring or love is sharing a password. Okay, but we've known, okay, passwords are bad and there are multi-factor authentication parts we don't really want to handle with that. And Shopware really can also make use of that, with that in mind. So we apply the Netflix thought, and the Netflix thought basically is like giving you all some accounts because there are two things. Imagine you would not have an own account but share it with someone. You would miss out some personalization features. Imagine you have to share an account when you want to look for the next Bollywood marathon. You would not want to share your account with someone waiting for the next Black Mirror episode, right? So you really want to have your own account. Netflix also wants you to have your own account, so let's make sure that everyone will get an account today, right? So you get an account, you back there will get an account, everyone today will get an account, at least somewhere. So let's have a look at the basics, right? So what do we actually want? Quite easy, we want someone to log into some application. And these people eventually just want to have a single button to press because the rest is annoying. And what do we not want to deal with? As I said, we do not want to have any forms to fill in or things we have to type, just a button. So there's also something else. I don't have to share any passwords. No password managers, no invite links that can run out of time or have to run out of time. Less things to deal with. So what do we actually need for that? We need like 3 things. We need an identity provider, short IDP, next abbreviation. So this service is holding all the data that we need for a good login. We need an application that we can log into. And we need the people that actually want to log into. So to make it less abstract, we want to have a look at the IDPs you might know from your daily life or your work life. So you likely seen these buttons. You call them social logins, basically. And they will help you out on logging in at some applications. There are also some more e-commerce solutions out there that do not follow the same principles, but provide also a lot of information that are quite useful for a checkout process, for example. So we should not forget them. But what are they talking? They're talking protocols. And these protocols, I named a few up there. OpenID Connect and OAuth2, for example, they're quite similar because they're building on top of each other. And OpenID Connect is just more rules around it, right? SAML is also quite helpful. It's basically the same in XML instead of JSON, but it also does not have server-to-server communication. That's really helpful for situations where you do not have direct server access, for example, between these services. There's also SCIM. SCIM is not really part of login, but it's more about synchronization, so you can get the data from the IDP to the application. There's also something more e-commerce-y that you've likely heard in the punch-out area, so you have like OCI and CXML. Okay, now we know the language we have to talk. We have the identity providers we might already be using. So then we just know the applications we can make use of. And there are plenty. And Shopware is part of that, for example. Shopware Path, the Shopware account itself, the community hub. And when you self-host your online shop, there we come into play and have our plugin online that you can use to enable your administration to make use of a login. So what is the actual benefit? So this is a bit of a story that we've experienced in our agency. So back then, a small agency, and we have a tech-savvy CEO, and he wants to make sure that everything runs smoothly. At that point, he introduced an IDP and connected all the tools we had in place. And it was really great for growing because onboarding was quite easy. You just had to create an account at the IDP, and everyone was able to use all the tools we had in place. And then Shopware 6 came, and we noticed when you want to create an admin account, you need 6 fields to enter. It's, the name, email address, and the first password. And I said, we do not want to have these. So we thought, okay, but there's OpenID Connect. How would that look like? They also need 6 information you need to fill in your form, and they're quite similar. They also need a name, but that's the name of the login button, and the permission you want to provide at that point, and some credentials for the IDP to understand who you are. So the benefit here is not really in preparing it in the first place, right? You have to provide an account in the IDP and the connection, but the admin account with a password, you have to do it for everyone. I would have to create it for you, everyone. I would have to type in all the information. And the IDP, I just have to do it once, and I can get all of you into the same online shop. So less work for my admins. Good. But there, again, not just for the service provider, also for the users, you will all get an account, and you don't have to type in a password. So nothing to look up or to remember. You just click the button. There's also something more we can summarize on that. We don't have to share passwords, as I said. It scales very well. So when you have multiple online shops that you have to manage, which is basically like any agency out there, and you also do not have to provide any updates. Imagine someone changes their name or an email address. You have like enough people to change your email address pattern, and now you have to change any account. That's annoying. The IDP knows everything about that and can share it with the application. No updates required manually. As I said, onboarding new people is quite easy. Offboarding is as easy as that because it's a single point of failure at that point. So when you deactivate an account, they cannot log in anymore. So eventually we all get accounts, can use all of the personalization features, and the provider can apply any compliance rules they want to have because they can identify you. Okay, less pictures in your mind, more pictures on the stage. So what I have in here right now are some screenshots from our first introduction video of the plugin we've created. So we are seeing Shopware 6.2 right now. And well, this is a login form, you know, and there's now a login with Microsoft button. And now we're gonna see the first theme that we want to get rid of, because when you click on it, you have to log in into Microsoft. Do you recall when you last logged into your social login provider? You don't really do that anymore. So this is the first theme that will be removed throughout the process, and eventually you will just be logged in. In that case, I am an administrator right now. Nowadays it looks more like this. Remove the login mask as all because some of our clients also have an identity provider for that, and well, we just go for that. For now, we were just talking about workforce. Now let's talk about customers, because they can also profit from that. But what's the difference? The difference are the addresses, because a customer eventually needs to receive a parcel or receive an invoice, and eventually you need an address for that. So let's have a look on how that can look like. I want to show you an example, our internal shop for our lunch. And for that, we will ask ourselves the first question. Am I logged in? Yeah, I'm logged in because I see my daily order. Okay, but why am I logged in? I'm logged in because I have a session cookie. They are quite important for all of this to work, so we have to recall that they work out. In case I would not be logged in, I would have a theme, and it's a login button. Nothing to register, and also something we just configure out there. For those of you that know the admin login, right now see that we also have a storefront login. This is not publicly available because this is for handling the, so to say, hard cases, right? So there are social logins out there in the community store, but they sometimes do not fit the, overall approach that we want to follow up in some projects, so we have our own to help us with that. So, I want to have more data. So the last case was quite easy. We have our office address, we use that for the delivery, so to say. What about the real case? Yeah, I have an address form. Am I logged in? We don't know it yet, but certainly I am right now. I'm coming from an IDP and have to fill out the rest. And what I notice here right away, this is the address form, but flipped. Why is it flipped? And I would ask the question in a different way. Why aren't we doing that all the time? Because this is like funneling down, from the country, down to the zip code, down to the street. So much easier for APIs to handle. And so when you just type in your zip code, you can have the state and the city. And when you just type in a few letters, you will get, the street eventually. So that's really easy to handle. In that case, the data is coming from Enderico. And, they simplify that process here as well. There's also something in for companies, because do you know the word Umsatzsteuer-Identifikationsnummer? Mouthful of a word. I don't know ours by heart, I must admit. And now imagine you just type in the company name and you get the rest out of it. So these cases can be simplified. In that case, the data is coming from Kreditreform. Now let's get out of the checkout, out of the logins. We now want to provide more services in addition to the products we have. So for example, we want to have a support case. someone bought a product, wants to ask a question. So we click onto the support button, and now, again, the theme you will likely not see. We have a login situation onto our other application that is handling the support cases. And there's an SAML button at the bottom. In theory, it will be clicked automatically, but I want to show you that theme that we want to get rid of. When we click on it, we are logged in. Okay, we're logged in now. We also have session cookies here. The data is coming from SAML, but who's the provider? The provider in that case is the online shop itself. So technically, you do not need to, well, use an external IDP. Just use the shop. We can also make use of that for different applications with the same identity provider. Just make sure that they have some sort of single sign-on, and we can make sure that the data is flowing correctly. Now, there were just a few examples and something you had to imagine and things that are not really easy to grasp. Now I want to show you a real example that is really making, use of all of it, basically, and making sure that everything is running smooth. We're looking into GenoBuy. What exactly is GenoBuy? GenoBuy is an online store that wants to simplify all the processes around banks and their office solutions and processes they have to take. And when you think about banking, it's all about filling in forms, having signatures, compliant things you have to think about, and that might be a bit annoying in the first place. But you do not have to, follow all on this as a user when you can automate things. So as a leading e-commerce platform for corporate banks that you might know under the name of Volksbanken and Raiffeisenbanken, you can make sure that these processes are simplified. We use most of the case the B2B components for that, so the pending orders, the rules for the basically for a lot of things, but some of the things we also had to extend. Now let's look into that. We're in a locked storefront situation. We're not logged in yet, but there's just a button. Let's click it. Okay, now there's a login mask I want to get rid of, and likely I'm logged in, but what I want to tell you is this is not the shop anymore, but it really feels like the shop. So when you want to reduce the themes, you also want to make sure to apply your corporate identity to all your applications, and then it feels like the same world. The users won't notice any difference. Okay. I'm still not logged in. But now I have a selection. What is this kind of selection I have here? It's me, just 3 times. So out of a single IDP login, I can get multiple employee accounts with all the, customization features and compliance. So I play different roles in different companies in that situation. And for that, I need, different accounts. And for that, I would just choose one. Okay, now I'm in an online shop. Okay, and there's a thing that I must break to you. GenoBuy does not have every book in the world. So they partner up with a provider that can provide books. And at the top, we see subscriptions and books. I want to have a book right now. I click on that, and I'm somewhere else. Now the question. Am I logged in? I am logged in. We see it, that it identified I come from GenoBuy, that is me, and we're now at the B2B platform from Thalia, and you likely know Thalia from, all the city stores they have, and Lehmann's is their, B2B part of that. In that case, where's the data coming from? Again, the shop provides all the data we need here, and we are using the CXML protocol in detail, so we have even some more e-commerce context in here. So when we choose our book and come back to the shop, we can now again apply some rules from the shop onto the products we receive from somewhere else. And I did not notice any theme. Okay. But someone has to create all the accounts, right? And we know this form. So who is creating all the accounts at the IDP? Well, in that case, we've managed to leverage OAuth2 to get an access token that we can make use of at the IDP itself. So the bank admin can just create accounts and they will be stored at the IDP. So the shop owner does not have to do anything at all. Coming to an end, I want to give you some more thoughts you can take with you. So we want to think outside of the box. For that, obviously, we need a box. And as I said earlier, you can host your own IDP. You don't have to use Microsoft or Google or whatever service. You can host it on your own. There's software out there that you can make use of, or even, as I said, use the Shopware shop. It already has a lot of information. What I did not talk about is FIDO2. FIDO2 is also a protocol that you likely used in your daily life, but you don't really know it because it's quite, well, linked to, for example, Touch ID or Face ID, and you can make use of that. And there are also hardware tokens, like YubiKeys, for example, that you can take with you. So you can have your identity on your stick and use it on a different computer. You can also use these logins in the real world. My smartwatch right here is, for example, the door access to our office. Because it has some identification on that from me, the door access can validate. You don't think about humans, you have to think about agents and service accounts. For example, when you wanted to send an email, like 2 years ago with Microsoft Outlook from your online shop, you had to do some OAuth thingy to do, and that's the service account you had to set up to send emails using OAuth2 and SMTP. Yeah. You can also chain identity providers. Imagine you want to use a Google service, but you have Microsoft as an IDP. There are ways to link these, so you can just log in at Google with your Microsoft account and use, for example, Google Drive. And there's also something that at least our plugin can do, and some identity providers do as well. They can provide time-based policies. For example, you assign a group to someone, and it automatically knows to remove them after like 6 months. So it's quite easy not to forget to offboard someone for a certain situation. Yeah, and as I said, there's something for you to take with you. There is a digital handout. This is the time where you are now, well, can take out your phone and make a screenshot technically and have all the information you've seen right now with you later in case you want to put it into your next sprint iteration. Just put the screenshot in a linear or Jira ticket and think about it in the next time. That's it.